James Gunn, please, if you can hear me, I need you to calm down. In the time it's taken me to say this sentence, 4 more new DCU projects have been announced. They are on a rampage right now. It is unstoppable. Soon, there will be no other movies and shows, only the DCU, as they make more than anyone can catch up with. It's only a matter of time before we all eat, sleep, and breathe DC. And you know what? I'm fine with that. After how rough the DCEU had things, it's really cool to see some actual direction for the DC universe that isn't just throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. We've got a single mind leading things from the creative front in James Gunn, a filmmaker who has never let me down, so I'm very optimistic for the future. It also helps that they're being very transparent about the creative process, doing things like an entire surprise press conference earlier this week where they confirmed a ton of new projects casually without warning. I joked about it in the intro, but there have genuinely been so many new movies and shows that I haven't been able to share my thoughts on the channel yet, so now feels like a better time than ever to talk about every upcoming DCU project. Hold on, what's that? Oh god, okay, they just announced 6 more. I need to get things started already. Let's dive into what's new, what we already know about, and what isn't ready at DC Studios. Up first is the official confirmation for a Teen Titans movie, which is incredible. I'm very happy to see the Teen Titans get a movie right off the bat, and they're not going to try and build up to it down the line or anything like that. It's kind of crazy that this is our first proper Teen Titans movie, considering how marketable they should be and how beloved they are as a team. I mean, I guess there is Teen Titans Go to the Movies, which I will admit I did see in theaters, and it is pretty fun. But like, I'm talking about a proper, live-action, faithful, comic-accurate Teen Titans movie, and I think it's very long overdue, and I'm so happy to see it announced right off the bat like this. It's kind of crazy that the DCEU never properly tried to even adapt the team, and that the only live-action version of them we got is in the Titans TV show, which, you know, it's one of the shows of all time. I can't take that away from it.
Fuck Batman.
Oh, brother.
God, what were they thinking for a lot of those decisions? I'll never understand it, but I'm very glad we can put that in the past and look towards the future. It's a small detail, but I'm very glad they're seemingly going to be called the Teen Titans. I was really worried that they'd try and adapt the Titans version, and not to keep bringing this up, but after the Titans TV show, I'm kind of sick of them just trying to stray away from the fact that they're teens. I don't want to see this universe lean into those comic accurate elements, so I'm very glad that it's specifically called the Teen Titans. As much as I would like them all to be actual teens, I feel like it's going to have to be a mix of both, considering the fact that the DCU is going to be launching at least 15 years into Batman's career, so I don't think we're going to be seeing characters like Dick Grayson as a teenager. I feel like he's going to be at least grown up and in his 20s at this point, so I think it would be cool if maybe we have an older generation of the Titans with Nightwing, Starfire, Cyborg, and then maybe they introduce a younger generation of characters, and that's where we can get Beast Boy and Raven and stuff like that, to kind of get the best of both worlds and mix it all together. Have them mentoring the new generation. I think that could be a lot of fun. And despite how many Titans-focused projects we've gotten over the years with 3 different TV shows, it still feels like we've hardly scratched the surface on these characters in the mainstream, so I'm really looking forward to this movie more than maybe anything else, because I feel like there's so much untapped potential, and it's just nice to see the Titans corner of the universe being expanded in this way after it being ignored for so long. Please, I just want to see the Titans done accurately. I feel like that shouldn't be that much to ask. And what I think is probably the most shocking announcement for me here in a great way is that spitting out of that show, we're going to be getting an animated Starfire series? What? That's so cool. Starfire is such an interesting character who I've always wanted to learn more about, but I've never had the time or knowledge to know where to even dive into her like this. So I love the idea of giving her her own animated series so we can fully dive into her origins and see what makes her tick and how she became the way she is. With how spectacular her powers can look and the cosmic setting, it makes perfect sense to make this an animated series so they can bring that otherworldliness to life in a way that you just couldn't in live action. I really love to see the focus on animation in the DCU. I feel like even today, when there's more animated superhero shows than ever, it's such an underrepresented format because there's such a stigma around it. So I'm glad to see that James Gunn is doing all that he can to kind of disprove that and give big characters like Starfire an animated series and just get more of a taste of this character. I also feel like we never really see her outside of the Titans in the mainstream at least, so I really like that she's going to get her own series set on Tamaran where she can be the star and the center of attention. It is so long overdue, and I'm going to be seated for that day one. Okay, I know I just said the Starfire show was the most shocking one to me, but I was not expecting to get a My Adventures with Green Lantern show, but that is what we love to see. I am over the moon about this. Honestly, out of all the projects that got announced, this might be the one I'm most excited for. It's no secret that I love My Adventures with Superman. I practically made an entire video gushing over it a few months ago. That show made me fall in love with the character of Superman again after years of being edgy thinking that he was boring. So as a long-suffering Green Lantern fan, I can't tell you how happy I am that this character is going to get that same treatment. We did get a little Green Lantern tease in season 2 last year, which is very funny now knowing that they were clearly trying to set up a future for that character. But what I think is most interesting is that this show is going to center around Jessica Cruz, which I think is a great idea. It feels like in the mainstream, we've pretty much had all the main Green Lanterns represented, except Kyle, I guess. He'll get a show eventually. We'll get to see his girlfriend get fridged. But I feel like Jessica is such an underrepresented character and someone with a really interesting history that I would love to explore in a show like this. And it makes perfect sense to get a Green Lantern animated series because with the ring constructs, you can just go all out in animation in a way that live action just wouldn't really work, that I think is going to suit the My Adventures with Superman art style very well. So I'm very happy about this. Honestly, this might be a hot take, but I'm more excited for this than the actual Lanterns TV show, which we'll get to later. But this is taking place in a universe that I already love, with a creative team that I have full faith in, highlighting a character I have yearned for to be adapted. So this is a win all around for me. I could not be happier about this. I hope that they just keep spinning this off until we have an entire My Adventures with universe. Give me My Adventures with Batman or Wonder Woman or just more obscure characters like Booster Gold or something. I don't know. That's catering towards me specifically, but I love this universe and I'm very glad that we're going to be seeing a Green Lantern focused series coming up soon. And then following those three big announcements, they capped things off with DC's superpowers. Wait, what is that? It takes place at the Alliance School for Heroes and focuses on new students Lightning, Flash, Plastic Man, Aquagirl, Green Lantern, and Terra, who level up their powers under the supervision of Principal Martian Manhunter in the hopes of one day graduating and becoming the next generation of Earth's defenders. Whatever that means. Okay, I'm getting really big baby show vibes from this, so you know what, that's fair. Not everything's gonna be for me, although it does have Green Lantern in it, so maybe I will watch it. And considering James Gunn doesn't really have many plans for the Flash right now, this might be the closest thing we get to a Flash adaptation, so who knows, maybe we need this right now. I guess Justice League Babies is a pretty surprising addition, but sure, why not? I hope they adapt Hal becoming Parallax and killing everyone in this show. Alright, that was all that was announced today, but there are a few projects that I've just completely missed due to how busy I've been that I've been dying to talk about. Starting with Clayface, a movie I am so hyped for. I cannot tell you how excited I am that they're making a Clayface movie, which is insane considering how outspoken I've been against Sony doing all these Spider-Man villain movies, but I feel like Clayface is one of the few villains who I think can actually carry his own movie. I've been burned before by DC villain movies, very recently in fact, but Clayface is my favorite Batman villain, and maybe my favorite villain in the entirety of DC. I don't know if I could pick one off the top of my head right now, but I love Clayface. I think he's such a fun and interesting character with this tragic backstory that is then manifested in a really cool and dynamic power set that makes for some incredible action scenes. I've always been drawn to him, and I think he's such a spectacle of a character that belongs on the big screen, and I cannot believe it's taken us this long to see him in live action. I wasn't expecting his first appearance to be in his own movie, but I will absolutely take it. Visually, he's a very fascinating character, as you can lean into that body horror, and the fact that he's a giant mud man, there's so much interesting stuff you can do to play around with that idea, and I'm very excited to see how they do this movie. Selfishly, I do really hope that Batman appears. I think it would be kind of crazy to tell a Clayface story and not include him. Obviously, his origin doesn't include Batman, but I think that it's such a missed opportunity. The villain as the protagonist and the hero as the antagonist, and we're just seeing things from the opposite perspective. And I think Clayface is the perfect character to do that with, because he already has that tragic backstory to make you sympathize with him, and then you make him fight Batman and have us root against Batman. That would be such a power move and a great way to flip that power dynamic and make the audience root against one of the greatest heroes of all time. But if they just do decide to make a straightforward Clayface movie with him as the villain, all you really have to do is make it The Substance but supernatural and you've got your movie. So let's hope that this movie is a rousing success and finally gets my favorite little mudman into the spotlight where he belongs and lifts him up to the A-tier villain he should be. One project that got announced a few months ago that I'm shocked I haven't made a video on yet is Dynamic Duo, a movie starring Jason Todd and Dick Grayson together before they both become Robin. Already, this is a very bold pitch, as famously these characters become Robin one after the other. So putting them together and having them grow up as friends is an idea that I'm very interested to see, because I feel like there's a lot of uncharted territory they could tap into here. The only synopsis we've gotten so far says that Dynamic Duo will depict how the friendship between Grayson and Todd as youths becomes tested by their diverging ideas for what their future should be. Honestly, I think that's a great pitch for this kind of movie, where you put these two Robins together, who couldn't be more different from the other, as Dick is traditionally this more straightforward, rule-following, lighthearted character, while Jason obviously has this tragic future where he becomes this depressed and tortured version of himself. And I think putting these two characters together, who could not be more different from the other, and seeing how they would interact in a time period where they're kids, it feels like a very inspired pitch to me. I can't believe I haven't even mentioned this yet, because this is the best part. This movie is animated by a new studio based in New Orleans called Swaybox. They've got a really cool highlight reel online, but what I think is the best thing about this movie is that it's going to be a mix of CG animation, puppetry, and live-action real-time performance. Does that not sound like the coolest thing ever to you? An animated movie about the two most popular Robins as we put them in this new setting together for once, and you use an experimental art style to see how this works? That sounds incredible to me, and I was fully on board just hearing how they're going to be making this movie in the first place. But especially considering the fact that I am a die-hard Jason Todd fan. There were a few years where if you asked me who my favorite DC character was, I would have said Red Hood. I was obsessed with him for a few years, and I have longed to see him adapted well. Us Jason Todd fans can finally start thriving in this incredibly experimental and hopefully gorgeous looking animated movie. This has so much potential to break boundaries in the animated superhero genre, so I cannot wait to see what they have cooking up here. One movie that's been making waves recently is a Sergeant Rock film. And my initial response seeing this was, what the hell, sure, why not? I'm more so excited about the fact that DC Studios will just kind of greenlight anything, and they're letting directors experiment with characters that we wouldn't usually see, than the actual movie itself, because I'm not even going to pretend I knew who Sergeant Rock was before that announcement, but it's the fact that they have Luca Guadagnino on board for this, directing the movie, that has my mind blown. He's one of the best working directors today. I adored Challengers. I think it's one of the best movies of the last 10 years. So the fact that they got him on board to direct a DC Studios movie is kind of mind-blowing to me. I thought he'd be a director who only wanted to work with original material, let alone making a war film, but I will watch anything he makes, so I will be there day one, no matter what happens. Even if I don't know who this character is or really care about him at all right now, I'm happy to go in with an open mind and hope to be blown away and meet one of my new favorite characters. Even if he's not going to be played by Daniel Craig, which kind of took away a lot of my excitement from this film because I think he's such a phenomenal actor. I love the Knives Out movies. They're some of my favorite films of all time. And that casting choice got me incredibly excited. But the fact that he's not actually going to be in the movie, and Scoopers lied to us, believe it or not. I know it's a crazy concept, but you can't trust what people say online. To know that there was actually nothing official kind of makes it sting a little less. But this is a project that I really don't know what to expect, and I'm just going to stay along for the ride because the creative team behind it is stacked, and that is enough to buy my ticket. And one more project that got announced a few months ago and slipped under the radar is what seems to be a Deathstroke and Bane team-up film, which on the surface kind of seems bizarre, because these are two characters who don't usually work together, so I'm shocked to see them getting their own movie, but I have a question mark written down here, because we don't even know if that's what this movie is going to be right now. James Gunn is being very coy when it comes to details about this film and won't outright confirm anything, besides the fact that Matthew Orton will be penning the script, who I'm happy with, because he did some work on Moon Knight and I love that show, but I don't really know what to expect here because it just feels so random. And I'm all for creative freedom, but it's kind of weird to prioritize this over something like a Wonder Woman movie. I've seen some people throw around the idea that this could be a Secret Six movie, which is another team I had no idea about. I'm sorry, I'm a fraud. Arrest me. But whatever it is, that mystery always gets me more excited because I feel like it's such an unconventional pick of characters to make a movie about that they have to be doing it for some inspired reason. So I'm going to be looking forward to it no matter what, even if right now it just seems very confusing. I'm not going to bore you talking about Superman again. I've made a 30-minute video just on the trailer alone, so I'm pretty sure you know I'm looking forward to this Superman movie. I don't have much new stuff to say, besides the fact that I think David Corenswet, Rachel Brosnahan, and Nicholas Hoult are going to kill it, and it is long overdue that we finally get Superman back on the big screen where he belongs. It pains me that we've had to wait over a decade since the last Superman solo film, and I thought that trailer looked fantastic, so I'm bouncing around my room just waiting to see more of this movie. I'm going to throw Peacemaker into this category too, but that was my favorite DC show before the Penguin came along, and I think John Cena is such a fantastic actor, and that's not just me being a biased wrestling fan. I think he's genuinely the best wrestler turned actor, right behind Dave Bautista, and he brings such a surprising level of vulnerability to a character I hated in the Suicide Squad, so I'm very interested to see what he's going to do in this sequel season, especially considering the fact that it's got this weird canon problem where almost all of the first season is canon, and now we enter this new continuity, and I'm very intrigued to see what they changed and what stays the same. This next movie, though, I haven't said a word about on this channel yet, which is Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. What's cool about this movie is that I don't actually know what to expect. All I know about this film is that literally everybody who's read the original comic says it's one of the best comics of the last decade, and how this movie should be a visual spectacle. So I am very much so looking forward to this to find out what all the hype is about. I can't tell you how tempted I've been to finally sit down and read the Woman of Tomorrow comic, but I'm trying my hardest to have some self-restraint because I want to be surprised in that theater and not have expectations weighing on me the entire movie, hoping that it lives up to this hype. So my excitement around this this film is entirely around the fact that everybody else is excited for it. I'll be the first to admit that I'm just hopping on the bandwagon. But from what I have seen of the comic, it has such an interesting visual style, and I really hope that this film can pull it off because some of the art in this book is gorgeous. It belongs in a museum, and if they can replicate even a tenth of that, we're going to be in for an all-timer. Another thing about this movie is that I don't think I've actually seen Millie Alcock in anything. I've just only heard great things about her work, and she looks like she'd be the perfect fit for Supergirl. So I'm really just going along with this movie on blind faith entirely, but I have no reason to not believe everybody is telling the truth here, and I'm very excited and looking forward to finally learning what all the hype is about. If any of you catch me reading this comic, I need you to spray me with a bottle of water or something. Do not let me ruin this for myself, because I am so close to cracking. I just think it's really cool that right off the bat, the DCU is going to be starting off with a Superman and a Supergirl film, kicking off this universe in a great way by expanding their corner of the universe. It's going to feel so refreshing just based on the sheer fact that we haven't seen these characters in a long time, let alone that both movies seem to be doing some really unique and fun storytelling. So as someone who is growing more and more attached to the Superman side of the DC universe, I am really looking forward to this, as it probably will make me even more obsessed with this character. That brings us to a movie that I have a lot of very complicated feelings about, Brave and the Bold. Batman is my favorite DC character. I know, real hot take there, white guy likes Batman. Who would have guessed? But the bar was raised an impossibly high amount by The Batman, and if your movie is not going to be at least as good as that, don't even make it at all. So the fact that this movie was announced with Andy Muschietti on board to direct had me concerned. I think the Flash movie is bad, and the Batman elements of that movie just don't work for me. I feel like he doesn't understand him as a character, along with the fact that recently he said some very weird comments that just give me the ick. I just don't want him attached to this movie anymore. I feel like you're losing more than you're gaining with him on board. But today we did get one glimmer of hope here, saying that Andy Muschietti is not involved with the development of Brave and the Bold at all. The script is going to be shown to him after completion, and then he's going to decide if he wants to do the movie or not. So maybe there's still hope for me, and we can get someone on this movie who I think actually appreciates Batman more as a character, but I'm not going to completely write this film off just because Andy's directing it, especially considering the fact that he's not writing the film. That was my biggest concern. The fact that they've got someone else writing it, who James Gunn, by the way, is just keeping a secret from us, because I guess he doesn't want them to get assassinated. I'm trying to think about who the funniest person to write Batman could be, and I feel like it's gotta be Zack Snyder again. But whatever is going on with this movie behind the scenes, I just hope the final product is good. It's not like I'm not gonna see the movie, I'm gonna be there opening night. But for a character like Batman, I need someone who would deliver on a fantastical caped crusader in the most satisfying way possible. And if that's Andy Muschietti, fine with me. But I would just maybe consider get someone else. I don't know. I'm not gonna tell you to do your job, James Gunn. That's why I'm on YouTube, and you're making millions of dollars. We also got some confirmation that Creature Commandos Season 2 is going forward, which is cool to hear. I didn't make a video on it because I didn't really have much to say, but I thought the first season of Creature Commandos was pretty fun. My biggest problem with it is that it feels more like a mid-season finale than an actual season finale, and we were just starting to get going after doing 8 episodes of building up these characters. For it to just end kind of felt anticlimactic to me, but I think they did a really great job introducing those characters and making you care about them, along with introducing a new team lineup, which I think has a lot of potential. So, while I may not love the first season, and they didn't start the DCU off with the biggest bang they could have, and it's my least favorite James Gunn superhero project, I hope he learns lessons from the first season and streamlines this next one to make sure that it actually sticks the landing. And rounding out this section of the video is Lanterns, a project that I am excited for, but also I have some concerns about. Let's start with the cast real quick, because I think Kyle Chandler is an interesting choice for Hal Jordan, not someone I would have expected at all and not my first pick for the role. I'm not the most familiar with his work, but I'm willing to hear it out. Then you have Aaron Pierre as Jon Stewart, someone who I think is incredibly talented and will bring a lot to this character with his performance, but I think he's wrong for Jon Stewart, and they should have gone with a dark-skinned actor, considering that's what the original creator intended him to look like. But my biggest issues with this show is that for a character like Green Lantern, who is basically a member of a space police force, it feels weird to ground him in Earth for a true detective type series, but I was just kind of hoping for a more cosmic-based Green Lantern show. I like the fact that Sinestro is going to be the villain in it. I think they nailed that casting completely, but they just got to do a little more to win me over, because this is not nearly green enough for my liking right now. As happy as I am that we're finally entering a Green Lantern renaissance, I just want to make sure his character is done right, so I'm a little hesitant here, but I think given the creative team and how positive James Gunn has been talking about the scripts for this series, I'm going to go into it with an open mind and expectations that it's going to be good, which is all that I care about. Don't let me down, man. I can't stomach another bad live-action Green Lantern project. It'll have been 15 years since the last one with this show releases. I can't go another 15 years when he gets sent into purgatory again. But here's the thing. Not every project is exactly ready or where DC Studios want them to be right now. So I'm just gonna run down the list and give you a few thoughts real quick. We first got an update on The Authority, where James Gunn has said they've had a harder time coming along with the script. I'm not too bummed about that. I'm not going to try and make you think I'm smarter than I am and that I knew who The Authority was before they were announced. I've got no clue who this team was, but given the fact that the engineer is appearing in Superman, I feel like there's a very clear path for this team going forward in the DCU, and I hope that they can do a great job of making me fall in love with these characters, but right now I just don't really know what to expect. I've not exactly seen many people championing, that doesn't sound like a real word. I've not seen a lot of people praising The Authority before, so I don't really have any context for what I'm supposed to feel with this, but I do think though that James Gunn has the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever and let Zack Snyder direct this project. I don't even want to think about what kind of discourse that would cause, but I think it'd be really funny if they bring him back in to direct this movie that seems to fit the themes he loves to talk about in his comic book movies. So maybe it's a match made in heaven, who knows? After that, it was announced that the Waller show has had a bumpy development process which was impacted by the strikes, which sucks to see because I think that Viola Davis as Amanda Waller is one of the all-time great comic book movie casting choices, so I think that it's cool that she was going to get her own show. I have no idea what it would have been, but whatever it is, it's got Viola Davis in it, so I'm going to watch it no matter what. After that is Paradise Lost, the Wonder Woman prequel show. No writers have been confirmed for that yet, but it's still in development. It's good to hear. I just wish that we kind of got some more Wonder Woman news. If I had one major complaint about the DCU right now, it's the fact that Wonder Woman is just nowhere to be seen, which is weird, considering the fact that we have 2 Superman-based movies already on the way, and 2 Batman-based movies already on the way, and yet you have a Wonder Woman prequel series that won't involve her. It just doesn't sit right with me. And I just want to see Wonder Woman again, because I feel like she's such a cool and empowering character, and it is a huge mistake any minute we don't see her in the mainstream. At least Wonder Woman fans still have that game to look forward to, so there's something good coming on the horizon. You've got to be kidding me. Is this some kind of sick joke that Warner Brothers are playing on us right now? Why do they just refuse to adapt Wonder Woman nowadays? The single most popular female superhero character of all time, and she's just given dust? We gotta fix this immediately, man. This can't stand. And I know people are gonna chalk it up to that one very bad movie that came out in 2020, but characters like Batman and Superman have both had bad movies like that before, and they still got games and movies and show after show after show. So what are we doing here, man? Just lock in and announce a Wonder Woman project already. It's such an easy win to finally give her her own animated series after all these years, and I don't know why they haven't just greenlit that yet. James Gunn also clarified that the Booster Gold show was waiting on a showrunner, but they lost interest and stopped working on the show, which honestly I think is kind of funny. I adore Booster Gold. He's such an annoying and lovable character. So when this was announced, believe it or not, this was my most anticipated DCU project. It's probably still the second highest one for me right now. So I hope they find someone who's actually interested in the project. And if they can't, I'll do it for free. I'll pay you to do it, James Gunn. Please, just let me make this Booster Gold show. I need the world to see how cool of a character he really is. We also learned that the Blue Beetle animated series isn't greenlit yet, but they're getting ready to present their first pitch of the series. I pray it's good because I think that Blue Beetle movie is incredibly underrated and is so charming, and Zolo Maridueña is amazing in it. So the fact that we might miss out on more of him kind of keeps me awake at night, and I need this show to happen so we can just get some payoff there. And then hey, maybe we can get Booster Gold in that show. I feel like that'd be a huge win. But again, I just love to see more animated series being developed in the DCU, and with a character like Blue Beetle who can create all these cool things with his scarab armor, it makes perfect sense to have him in his own animated show. And then finally, the last DCU project currently announced is Swamp Thing, directed by James Mangold. This is another project that has seemingly just been caught in limbo for a little bit, as James Mangold's busy schedule has gotten in the way, which sucks, but I understand it, because he was just doing that complete unknown biopic, so I get it. Going through this lineup, there's not much horror stuff here at all besides Clayface and this, and I think that Swamp Thing can tap into a completely different genre of horror than Clayface could, as we dive into this eerie, creepy horror setting. Maybe if they're feeling nice, we can get a Constantine appearance in the movie. I promise you now, I would see that movie at least 12 times in theaters if that happened. Am I secretly just wanting all these projects so they can introduce my favorite characters? Maybe. Who's to say? I'd like to see you try and prove it. I touched on it a little bit up top, but I do think it's really cool that we have this vision laid out for the DCU that seems like they're going to be going full steam ahead with and actually making sure that these projects happen, but not in a way where they're constantly rushing it to meet deadlines. But I just like to see a roadmap built out for the next 6 years for the studio, considering the fact that they have a plan to release 7 projects a year, which is pretty crazy, that they're going to be doing 2 live-action films, an animated film, 2 live-action shows, and 2 animated shows every single year. It's a lot, but for someone who lives and breathes this stuff, I am going to be thriving. And the fact that James has already started teasing that they have a big crossover style event set up at the end is insane to think about what it could be. As long as it's not Crisis again, I'll be happy. Or Darkseid, don't do that either. Just give me something fresh and exciting, like the Legion of Doom or Trigon, if you want to lean into the Gods and Monsters theme. Because it really seems like the theme of this entire first chapter of the DCU is to do new things and give directors creative control and freedom in a way that the DCEU didn't. And yeah, there have been some growing pains along the way, but I truly believe that the future is brighter than ever for that studio, and I cannot wait to see them thriving once again. We get caught up in fandom wars and discourse way too much to the fact that we don't realize how good we have it right now, where Marvel is going to be releasing 9 projects this year, while DC is going to work up to releasing 7 every year. It's kind of crazy to think about, but I really feel like we're in a renaissance for the superhero genre, and it warms my heart to actually see DC putting out stuff like this. We've had to suffer through so many different DC Universe reboots that date back before I was even born, but I really think that this is the one. We just need Superman to be a success, man, because if it fails and Warner Brothers pulls the plug on this, I might just end it all on the spot. I can't go through another DC Universe crashing around me. But I'm gonna stop and not even put that idea out into the universe, because I feel like things are looking great right now for DC, and it makes me very happy. But that's enough of me yapping. Why don't you let me know down below what DCU project you're most looking forward to? I would genuinely love to hear what everyone has to say and continue the conversation down below. And while you're at it, you may as well give the video a like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. If you don't do it, I'm gonna make sure all these projects get delayed indefinitely and the DC Universe never happens. And then I'm gonna tell everybody it's your fault and you gotta deal with that. And you know DC fans can be ruthless, so have fun with that.